Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Baruch Hashem. Okay, so what mime are we up to?
Dalit.
Dalit. Mime Dalit. Oh, Parshas Miketz. Okay. Shmos Rabbah, Paraklaf Aleph. Mao Paro Ikriv. Paro, it says Paro came close, like Kriyas Yamsuf, when they caught Esau sitting on the sea. She kibitza l'tshuva. So according to this medrash, he brought Am Yisrael close to doing tshuva. He did kiruv to Am Yisrael. Belama asa Kadosh Baruch Hu lem kach. So why did Kadosh Baruch Hu do this to them? He wanted the tefillas of Bnei Yisrael. All right, with Shimon Levi. Shimon Levi said, "Ma'adover doime." What is it analogous to? Lemelech for a king. Shoya Baba Derech, he was coming on the road. Vohesa Bas Malachim Tuekes Bakosha Mincha Hatzileni. The king was coming down the road, and a princess was shouting, "Please save me!" We are releasing from the bandits. Shama Melech Vitzila, the king heard and saved him. Lacharim Bikesh Leishay Lisa Salisha. Eventually, the king wanted to marry the princess. So he wanted her to speak to him, and she didn't want to. He wanted her to speak to him, and she did not want to speak to him. What did the king do? Gira ba alistim. He sicked the bandits on her. They should titzok. She should cry out. Vishma melech. And the king will hear. Came and Shibal alistim. So once the bandits came, he started shouting to the king. Amar lo melech. The king said, "L'kacha yisi misabe." That's exactly what I wanted to hear you. Kach yisok shuv b'Mitzrayim, so to Bnei Yisrael, they were in Egypt. V'mishablim b'hem, and they were b'shubah to the Egyptians. He's still talking. They were crying out to Kadosh Baruch Hu. Shneimar v'hilia b'mima b'mahem v'yitzaku. They cried out Elokim min avoda. V'chulei v'Kadosh Baruch Hu mevak l'shmas kol pam acheres. Kadosh Baruch Hu wanted to hear them again. V'lo yirotzim. They didn't want to daven. Masa, what did he do? Gira Paro, he enticed Paro to pursue them. Paro he creed. Paro came close. So me they started happening again. We see from the Medrash a new concept concerning tefillah out of subjugation. We understand the cause and effect as since we have tzaros, therefore we daven to get out of the tzaros. When we are suffering and we yearn for the salvation of Kadosh Baruch Hu, we daven for it. So according to this perspective, of course, we much more pleasant for a person not to have to suffer and not to daven. So why could they live but them because the whole point of tefillah is they have the tzaras. So low hand below schoron. I don't want to have the tzaras. I don't want to have to daven. We talked about administration. Okay, when the medrash see, no, it's not like that. It's the opposite. The call tzaras the yisurim shesavlu. The cause is the need to daven, and the effect is that they're tzaras in order to bring that about. But we have to understand why is it so important? Why is the Shem bring us tzaras so we should daven? The name most social tefillah in by Krobashem. So the essence of tefillah is to call out the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What you didn't include pasuk zeh, but Tzali b'shma the Hashem. Even though it says Vayikra b'shem Hashem in the pasuk, the way Uncle's translates it, it's Tzali, which is the language of Tzlosa Davi. Being Kriya Hashem tzurich labim pashut. Calling out to have to Kadosh Baruch Hu, you have to understand in a simple way. Shekamosha Adam Korei Vakesh Chaveru Sheyavo. just like you call out to your friend that he should come to you. Kenu kriyas shem Hashem. Okay, fascinating interpretation. When I call out to you, I call your name, it's because I want you to come. When I call to Kosh Baruch Hu, it's because I want him to come. But since HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not spatial, so immediately as we want to call the Shem Hashem is present. It says, it's a difficult passage, but the way Chazal interpret it means any place where my name is mentioned, I will come to you and bless you. All of the salvation, all of the success which we can attain, we only get it by Hashem's name coming to us. Because the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the source of all success, and the source of salvation. So all of davening, we have things you mentioned, Bavur Shmor Gadol, right? Hatov Shimcha Charel Odos. There's another one.
No,
I'm saying davening. What else we use that say?
Oh, in davening.
Let's try to figure out. There's another obvious place which I usually quote, which I'm not remembering right now. Okay, escapes me. Anyway, so B'nim Tzavi says Yeshua. I'm sorry, I skipped. I skipped down paragraph by mistake. Kishem Hashem Mekar Kasos L'Mekar Yeshua. V'chos Chias Yisrael B'Zgalos Yitzias Mitzrayim. Any revelation which Am Yisrael merited by when they left Egypt, they attained it by the crying out. Zoso Meres. This teacher means to say she's Galus Yitzias Mitzrayim. She are Chuachi G'dola. This revelation, which is the greatest salvation. That with Hashem should be our God. We should be his nation. It came by them crying out to Kosh Baruch Hu when they had anguish. So come Rabbi Yerucham here as a radical new Yisoid in Tefillah. The Yisoid in Tefillah is not that, the famous question which is asked by everybody is, doesn't Hashem know what you need? Right? Why do you have to daven to Hashem? He knows what you need, what you want. So the answer is, there are many answers which are given, but the standard answer which is given is that, well, tefillah is for you. That you should be aware that it comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But the Rabbi Yerucham is saying differently. Rabbi Yerucham says that the bracha comes when you're koreh for it. In other words, it's not the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu structures the world is that, yes, of course, if you're connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, then things will happen as appropriate. But how do you connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? You have to call him in over. You have to koreh b'shem Hashem. And koreh b'shem Hashem means davening. Okay, so that means if you want Tom, Dick, or Harry to save you, you call Tom, Dick, or Harry. Davening is calling to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Okay, so now I think he has several mamorim about this here. It's just the first one. Mm-hmm. But Shona Eifo Inyan Yeshua Mikfir Shirgalnu Loving. So how salvation works is different than we normally understand. We understand when a person has some added sorrow, and he gets saved from it. He thanks the Baruch Hu on the salvation. Certainly would he prefer that the tzara didn't happen. Avobema saying, okay, it's not true. The Siba says Yeshua, she is Gaus Elokis, the cause for the salvation, which is divine revelation. No Yotza Mitoch HaTzorah. Without the Torah, it couldn't have happened. You can't get to these galus without having the Torah first. They are Torah, your Kriyas Hashem Mitoch HaTzorah. Shemizen no da Yeshua. Without the Torah, you wouldn't have come to call out, certainly not as earnestly, the name of a Kodesh Baruch Hu. The lawyer Zochel also is Eloki. You wouldn't have gotten that divine assistance. In Tzolfi Zet, so comes out this Yeshua, Yeshua is not, salvation doesn't come because you need salvation to save you from the Torah. Vasiba Torah. And the cause is the Torah, Yeshua, from which salvation comes necessary. El Hefech, the opposite. The whole purpose of the Torah is that there should be Yeshua. Everything is cause and effect. The reason why the Torah is that there should be a tzaka. And through the tzaka comes the bracha. When we get deep down to this, it's not just that the tzara is there so to bring us to Yeshua. Another amazing chiddush. The tzara itself is the Yeshua. Why? Because the course of the tzara is the course of the growth of the Yeshua, the flowering of Yeshua. There's like anything which grows. Like any vegetation. First you have to plant. And the plant comes up and grows. The purpose, which is the fruit, can come in this manner. By planting and growing. That's you have to understand Torah and Yeshua. The Torah is the growth stage before you can get the fruit. The concept of altar should be tranquil. This is all for the purpose of being Matzmiach Yeshuos. That's the idea was only that through the Torah can you come to the Yeshua. So obviously that's a very powerful statement. And he says, I know, I was supposed to call it Torah, maybe we're supposed to call it Torah Yeshua. Because it is the growth of the Yeshua. Yeshua. And that's that which they say. Because Baruch Hu, from the wound itself, he fashions the bandage. When we see a wound which is being healed, and from in the wound itself, there extends the healthy new skin. We can't understand we can't discern in any way. If all the pains and affliction he underwent were the afflictions of his machla, of his illness, or because it's part of the refuah. The skin and the flesh which became healthy, they caused him this pain. And I would give probably the example of when you have a dental work, right? And obviously there's extreme amount of pain, but the pain is part of the Yeshua. You can't get to long-term freedom from pain unless you undergo short-term intense pain. So the operation, the dental surgery, is part and parcel of the refuah. So it's a very radical statement, but if you think about it for a minute, it's not such a big chiddush. What it's saying is that the tzara is essential to have a Yeshua, and therefore, it's not that the tzara is ra and Yeshua is tov. The tzara is also tov. That's why Nachum Ish Gamzu said Gamzula Toiva, right? It's not that just the ultimate good is good. This is also good. It's a very high madrega to reach, but that's the madrega. It doesn't mean you don't suffer, but the suffering, you realize the suffering is for your own good. That's part of the salvation in itself. Now, Kasa Tovei Yaakov. Pasuk demands Yaakov, Lama Tomar Yaakov Taber Yisrael. Why do you complain that my pathway is hidden from Hashem? From Chazal, she said, Kai Aho Shomer Yaakov. It's going with Yaakov. He said, Lomar Osemli Lagi Leish Ho Lachem Ach. Why did you make me the sorrow to tell Yosef you have another brother? Amar Kosh Baruch Hu, Hashem says, I'm involved all this time to make a son a king in Egypt. And he says, why did you do bad to me? The whole point of his Taurus was to get to the point where he became a king. So we told Taurus, know the Yeshua Zu. From these Taurus, we came to this Yeshua. Came in, he Yeshua. Powerful statement. You can't call it Tzara. A Tzara because it's part of the Yeshua. So I don't know if Yaakov's being critiqued for that, but what we're saying is that Yaakov could only feel bad about it because he didn't understand the plan. How you understand the plan, they would know, okay, this Tzara, it's must be part of some greater master plan, which is eventually going to work out to be the Yeshua. All of how is built in this principle. From the narrows, I called out to you, Hashem. You answered me in the breadth, in the broad. In the narrow strictures, in the anguish, before he's saved from it, was a Yeshua. I saw the Yeshua. They surrounded me. It's in the Tzara. I will destroy them with the name of Hashem. They surround me like bees. I was pushed over to fall. Hashem Azarani. As Hashem Azarani, everybody sees when Hashem helps. Because after the redemption and salvation, it's revealed to everybody. He recognized Yeshua in the Tzara itself. Before he's been saved from it. We have to Yeshua b'Tzara, seeing this Yeshua in the Tzara, as Zemakirim Raki Chidei Skula. Like I said before, Nachum Ish Gamzu. Very few people actually recognize this. Right? That's only a tzaddikim can discern this Tzara as Yeshua. And requires a lot of, not just, obviously requires a lot of emunah and bitachon. Amar Zad Morzal, Alta from Kelm, said about this. Zeh Hashar, the Zeh Haino Tzoros L'Mahalcha. That's the Tzoros and the way they work. Zeh Ashar Lagia Hashem. That's the way to reach to Hashem. Avarak Tzadikim Yicholim L'Karnitzpo. Only Tzadikim can go in that way. Kirak Heim Yicholim L'Kir Derech Zeh. Because only they can recognize how this is the path. Chen Otcha Kani Sani. I thank you. Perhaps the more little interpretation is, I thank you because you responded to me. But you were onemi. But the other interpretation, which he's going with, is so I thank you that you tortured me, that you were ma'anemi, inui, but Yeshua, and that would be for me a salvation. Modehu Hashem, sorry, gam ba'ad ha'inui, also for the affliction. Ki anui atzmo gam ken ha'Yeshua, because the affliction itself is also the salvation. So it says here, interestingly, Chanukah, Shenitka Mishua Nes, Batshua, Kavur Ba'alavodah. Chanukah, which is for the miracle and the salvation, its characteristic is hallow and hodah. The Kavushmas Edi Me Chanukah Elo Dosa Elo Shimcha Godol. Kina hallow is burning like here is soid zeh. The concept of hallow is to recognize this. Yisoid Shebein Atzvav Yeshua and Chiluk Klam. There's no difference between the two of them. They're both two sides of a coin. All we can do is say that Tzara is a Zera, but Yeshua and Yeshua is how it then sprouts and grows. Okay, so again, this thing which Yerucham goes much more into later on. Again, although I don't think immediately, but he talks about tefillah many, many times. So the point is that tefillah, first of all, is something which is necessary in order to be koreh b'shem Hashem more than anything else. And the bracha comes in the koreh b'shem Hashem. And the tzara is necessary to sometimes to get you to be koreh b'shem Hashem. Not because the tzara is necessary, but because the kriya b'shem Hashem is necessary, and that's the catalyst to get there. And in general, in that way, and in other ways, the tzara is the start of the Yeshua. I don't know, I didn't bring this out in detail, but like when you plant the seed, it has to rot before it can grow. So to the seed of Yeshua can be planted, but it's got to rot before it grows. There's no such thing as, growing in a way which doesn't require breakdown first. So he's saying that it's a separate issue from the tefillah thing. He's saying that Yeshua requires some things to break down in order to be built up. It's like you have to take the one step backwards to do the two steps forward. Mm. Okay, and so Hanukkah is this idea of, retroactively we see how everything was to lead up to this Yeshua. Okay, hopefully we'll get more into it. Okay, but this is very, very good.
Very good, thank you.
We started to stick a piece. Okay.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay, have a good night.
You too.